Menudo style in a direct fashion. We're going to get straight into the content of the day. You guys see the thumbnail, but before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I am kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support I'm getting, man. Thank you. We're going up, and it's all because of you. Now, Trip. Wow. I've been watching a lot of content lately on YouTube, man, and I see a lot of people putting out, a lot of information, a lot of stories. Some of them as real as it gets by convicts that have actually done righteous time, and then some not so much, right? But I will say this, I agree with a lot of what is being put out there. An incident took place in Ironwood. I did a video on it. Whether or not some CO got headbutted or not, that's up for debate, okay? Whatever's written in that report is what's written in that report. I've seen a lot of reports fabricated to make whoever look good or to shit on someone else. I remember back in the days, man, here was the trip out on this, little side note. So Vatos, that there was bad yards, right? So there was bad yards in prison that if you were from a certain group, if you would go to these yards, you had a certain amount of time to get off. And I know that the COs were doing this, and this was a cold part of the game, right? A lot of these dudes would get there, and if you got a little crazy with the CO or they just didn't like you, they would place you in administrative segregation right from R&R. Off the bus, you go to R&R, that put you in the oil. They knew you were active. They knew your intentions on that yard and what you were going to do. So they were going to sabotage and fuck up your game. What they would do is place you in the hole for 72 hours. If you were Norteño, you had 72 hours to get off of that bad yard. So they would place you in the hole for 73 hours without a write-up, okay? And then bring you out on that 73rd hour and then tell you, look, you've been here longer than 72 hours. You might as well drop out. You might as well just let it go because they're not going to even give you a pass, man. You had 72 hours, so they're going to write you up and say he's been here for 3 days and whoop-de-whoop and que la chingada and set you up cold. They did that to a lot of people, washed them up, washed their careers up. Now, of course, Vatos got hit to the skip. They got put up on game and realized that that's what they were doing. So there was a lot of guys going in the back, pleading their case. And I did see Vatos get cleared on it. But I did actually see guys get washed up. When it comes to the CDC, it all depends on the rapport and how it is with the COs and the convicts there. If it's cool, man, if they're just doing their job, they're an old school guard, just like an old school convict. They have the same type of mentality. They understand what it is to do time. If it's a rookie, someone new, someone who wants to punish you just for being locked up, that's a whole different story. It could go any way it goes. And we've all heard stories about Vatos fucking getting choked out and Vatos getting beat up. And just a lot goes on behind the scenes in prison when it comes to the canine and the convict. Okay, that's a story that could go on for days. But anyways, the state went on lockdown. Okay, it was just a 24-hour lockdown because of the incident that happened in, of course, Ironwood. I also heard that another incident 30 minutes later popped off in the local county jail right there. I think that was just Vatos following suit. When everyone got phones nowadays, there's a lot of communication. So when you hear, hey, man, the homies cracked it off over here in prison because they got into it with the COs, other Vatos in the county jail might automatically assume or think, hey, it's popping now. Let's fucking get off. So they made their move. Whether that's true or not that it popped off in county, this is just the he said, she said. This is what I heard over through the grapevine. I don't know that to be true, but that's what I heard, that it popped off in the Riverside County Jail right after this shit popped off in Donovan. It is what it is, man. I don't know that to be true or not. But as far as the state going on lockdown, they did that. Okay, it was a 24-hour lockdown, and that was just so they could investigate. And everybody is doing videos about how the Sureños or the Southsiders are the cause of the lockdown. I don't think so. Okay, I think, yes, we all know by now that it was the Southsiders that got off allegedly with these cops. I don't think it was pre-planned. I don't think it was, because if it was pre-planned, there was going to be bodies. Okay, if something's pre-planned in prison, it's usually a very ugly scene, a situation. There's sangre everywhere. Oh yes, there will be sangre. And there's going to be bodies hauled out of there because everyone is prepared. One thing I know about the Southsiders, the Norteños, any group like that, best believe if something's going down, everybody's strapped. Everybody's ready. You will not hit that yard, period, a 4-yard or 3-yard without a strap on you. You better be ready. and ready to go all the way. Because if you don't participate and you're not accounted for, Holmes, you're not going to be on roll call, any roster, and it's on you. You're going to be dealt with behind them walls. You know, whenever you go to AdSeg, that's when everyone is going to say, hey, the homie was over here doing this. Hey, homie, did you see me? I had 2 of them. That's how it is. They're going to be like, hey, where were you? Oh, shit, the way my stabbing game works, bro, is awesome to cut. Nah. Well, then you're going to see the way their stabbing game works when you guys go to group yard. That's just how it is. So I know for a fact and for sure this wasn't a pre-planned thing. This was a spur-of-the-moment thing. Whether this guy did headbutt this officer or not is up for debate. That's their story. I'll let them tell it. Okay, but the state did go on a statewide lockdown. That means every facility, every prison within the state of California was on lockdown, but it was just for 24 hours. And like I said, that was so they could do their investigation, so they could find out through their CIs or however they find out, you know, if this was a green light put on COs or if this was an isolated incident. Of course, we all know it was a spur of the moment thing, so it was an isolated incident. But that doesn't mean it can't get to cracking everywhere when vatos hear about it. If vatos feel disrespected, and they feel that, you know, it warrants that, then there's no rules or regulations saying that it can't. Will it? Probably not. I would think it wouldn't. Would there be other incidences in other places? Perhaps. I highly doubt it, right? Are the Sureños or the Southsiders the cause of this? No. Albeit they did initially take flight and they did their thing allegedly, I don't see them as the reason. Because it could have been anybody. See, any other group that felt disrespected and felt a certain way would have did the exact same thing. One thing I can say about the Southsiders, though, is anytime they're involved in anything, the CDC notices. They're on notice. You know, it's a slam down situation. It's a lockdown situation because they feel threatened by this group. Numbers, the abundance of numbers that the Southsiders have makes their group the most dangerous and vicious group. Period. In prison, it's been like that. I know there's a lot of vatos from other groups that like to say that, hey, we're more with the program or we're crazier. And you could say whatever you want to say, but numbers equate into, if you have a lot more vatos over there, there's a lot more vatos doing crazy shit. And the Southsiders are laced that way. They're educated that way, homies. One jump, all jump, they go. They go, homie. You know, every group goes in prison, but they go. They go dumb. They're with that shit, right? So the CDC takes notice of that. You know, they're very threatened and spooked by the presentation of the Southsiders. Now, who wouldn't? If you're an officer and you're working a CO, you're working a yard, man, and you see 200 guys that are in uniform ready to go at any time, you would be shook, you know, because these guys are going to go to the end. They're not going to stop. They're not going to just fucking stop until they're told to stop or until they decide that it's in their best interest to stop. Right, so I could understand the statewide lockdown, but from what I'm hearing, it was just a modified lockdown, meaning it was 24 hours, and then they were going to go on modified program. Modified program is, yes, they might not have yard, but they'll still have visits, canteen, commissary. It varies from prison to prison on a modified program. Sometimes they'll bring just the workers out. They'll still feed you in your cells, or sometimes they'll release half the tier to the chow hall. They'll do it like that. It'll be a thing that they run all day. That's what modified program entails, you know. They're going to definitely go get at who they believe are the llaveros, the shot callers, the mesas, or whatever. They're going to try to get in their ears and calm the situation down and do some investigation and kind of gauge what's going on in certain places. Because there's a lot of prisons that are very dangerous, more dangerous than others. You know, on them 1 or 2 yards, it cracks. But it's not going to crack off like on a 3 or 4 yard. And that respect level is very high there. And a lot of the officers that have been around the block and know what it is, they have a lot of respect for these convicts because they understand, man, just how dangerous it can get. You know, one little thing could set off a chain event that could have vatos whacked all the way as far as up into Pelican Bay from Donovan. And that's a long distance. But word travels fast, especially when you have internet, social media, people doing spills. And then, of course, you have telephones. Vatos that get with they don't even say telephone anymore. They just say phone. Old school, right? That's just how it is. Guard, have you heard telephone? Right? Shut up, babosa. Look, the vatos all shook. The Southsiders are gonna get us. They're gonna get us. Calm down. But the Southsiders have always been that one group that is dangerous in any situation. You know, I know a lot of people like to represent their gente and their people, and you're always gonna be primera. You're always gonna be number one. You know, when I was a Norteño and I was functioning, couldn't no one tell me that we weren't the motherfucking most vicious and vile group on that yard. Even if there was 10 of us, homes, that was 10 solid motherfuckers willing to go to the end. Bulldogs feel the same way. Sureños feel the same way. Whites, what's up, brother? They feel the same way. Them Woods, man, they're with the shits, the Skins, the Blacks. Everybody feels like can't no one fuck with them. But numbers and the presence, you know, unless you've actually done time on a 3 or 4 yard and been around Southsiders, then you know how they wiggle, man. They're fucking deep and they ain't playing at all. You know, if you ever see them do something with their own car, whack someone, they put the demo down good. You're like, oh shit. All right, now let me rethink the situation here, right? I remember when I was in Susanville, the who's who, I was in a building we called the Pentagon, and all the main bottles were in that building, okay? And my neighbors were that guy. No lefty gunplay. You might be that guy in the rap game. These were them guys. These were the guys, right? They were cool-ass Southsiders. Coolest Sureños I ever met in my life, right? Bottles fucking hook it up with. When we were on lockdown, they managed sopas, cases of sopas. Not just a sopa or two here, homie, for the vessels. No, fucking cases of sopas right there. They were throwing in front of our door. Bags of coffee. Yeah, the Woods were like, damn, brother, why are you hooking them Norteños, right? Yeah, they were looking out. Good-ass dudes. But we were of an understanding, of course, these were the bottles right here. They were the vatos that'd get off fast as fuck. Most solidest Southsiders I ever met in my life, right? But cool dudes, man. Looked out for the raza. I'll forever be indebted to them vatos. And I know who they are. I'm just not going to say their names and where they're from. But anyone who's ever done time right there with them dudes, they knew. They were them. So I always had a lot of respect for the Sureños, the way they moved. You know, a lot of people say the Norteños are more militant in their structure. And that comes from having the founding fathers being, you know, Vietnam veterans and armed forces and implementing that into the programa and this and that. And it's true. It's true. A very, very militant group. But don't sleep on the Southsiders, bro, because no one else does. And that is the reason why it's a statewide lockdown. It's a statewide lockdown for the protection of the police because they need to figure some shit out. But also because the Southsiders are considered the most dangerous group in prison because they have the numbers. And not even just the numbers, man. Just the way they move. The way they wiggle. So when I seen these other videos of people talking about, you know, hey, the Sureños done did it again. Best believe there's a lot of other groups that are agitated because maybe they had a visita. Maybe they had a canteen coming, you know. But that's prison. That's prison. When you're an active gang member or you're an active vato on a prison yard, you have to understand that there's going to be situations that are out of your hands, homies. That's why when homies get there, and I was talking to a homie the other day, we used to tell him, hey, in your canteen, bro, buy a gang of cosmetics. You know, don't get just zoos and whams and hey, homie, I'm going to get a whole bunch of honey buns and sodas for the, you know, for the homies. No, fuck all that. Get your cosmetics off the top. Righteously. $30, $40 of cosmetics. Stack your deodorants and your soap and your shampoo and your toothpaste, especially your toothpaste. Yuck mouth, right? Stack that. Cases of sopas, beans, shit that's filling, homie. Because at any time, anyone knows that's on a 4-3 yard, you can go on lockdown for a very long time. Could be a what do you call it? A fucking hunger strike, right? And here's one thing about a hunger strike. The hunger strike is just like this. You're not going to take a state issue trade, but that doesn't mean you don't fucking get down. You have peanut butter, you have sopas, you eat in your cell. You bless all the homies that don't got it like that. You make sure everyone has cases. My celly, we used to put cajas of sopas under the bed, 3-4 cajas, you know, for the vessels, for the good times, for the late night, and also for the lockdown, because we were constantly on lockdown. We can get slammed at any moment. Anyone who's on a 4-year, they already know the rhythm. They know the way going to get down. That's the way it is. So this lockdown just being a modified program, it ain't that major. It ain't that major, but anytime in the California Department of Corrections, the Southsiders do something that's considered vicious or out of the norm, it's a statewide lockdown automatic. It's because the way they go, bro, and it's because the COs know what time it is. They're the most dangerous group in prison. Okay, now everybody can stab you. Everybody can do their thing. But these vatos, you know, if they don't want to stop, you can't stop them. Once they pop, they don't stop. That's a fact. Okay, no one is going to shut their program down but them and the guy who turns the key. So, and no other, I don't think in this incident, no other group is going to be upset and try to make a move and make an issue out of it, because it just is what it is, man. If anything, you go to your cell, you chill, you work out, you watch your little tubo, eat your sopas. It is what it is. The little sack lunch, slice them on up, make a little spread, some burritos, And that's it, man. That's program in prison. Okay, program in prison is there is no program in prison other than what you do with your homeboys. And you're going to ride it out before you divide it out, and that's it. So do I think, the yards could pretty much, and there's a lot of these prison wives, man. I see it on TikTok and other platforms. A lot of prison wives are concerned. My husband's on lockdown. What's going to happen? Well, here's what's going to happen. He's going to be with the rest of the fellas on lockdown. And when they come out, he's going to come out. He's safe. He's all right. He's in his cell with the cellie. They're chilling. If anything, there's a lot of homies that enjoy lockdown. Righteously. You're safe from the yard. You don't got to be involved in the drama. Unless you're out there, the man out there getting your money, it's fucking up your shit. You're like, damn, bro, you know what I mean? I got to send some money to the back and whoop, whoop. I need to hurry up and get that. They're stressing like a Smith & Wesson, but everyone else is like, shit, homie, put the TV on, bump your fucking CL20s and chill. You know what I mean? Fuck, you ain't got to go to the yard. You ain't got to deal with the drama. You ain't got to deal with the interaction of the movement. Who wouldn't want to do time in the cell? I remember I had a homeboy, man. He was like, I love being in the oil, bro, because I could collect my thoughts. I'm just doing my thing. Even though he was active and he was with the program and what was going on that theater, he'd like to stay off the door and off the tier, man. He'd like to function right there within his cell. He's no longer active or with that program. And I think that was just based upon the way his attitude. It wasn't that he was scared to go to yard or nothing like that. It was more so just he didn't like being out there. It was nothing for him, he felt, right? He was willing to go to the fullest if the homies needed him. But at the same time, bro, it's not like you think. It's not shit that's popping every fucking day where it's wartime. When it's wartime, everybody's number can be pulled. Everybody will be felt. Their presence will be felt. If you decide to stay in your cell, are you coming out and say? No. Best believe that Chino got whacked right after Santana. It's just the way it is. So, as far as this, is it the Southsiders' fault that the state's on lockdown? Is anyone tripping? No. It's not their fault, bro. Because if it was the white guys that got off, would it be considered their fault? No. No one's at fault here. Shit happens. Okay? But this just shows you the respect and how the officers view the Southsiders. They got them shook, bro. Okay? People won't admit it, but until you see the numbers and how these guys move, it changes your way of thinking about a Sureño or a Southsider. You're like, fuck, bro. These vatos are no less than 150 to 200 deep on every damn yard that you go to in California. Do they control the yards? If that's the word you want to use, okay, no one's going to push up on them unless it's guerra, unless it's war. And coming from the other side, being a Norteño, man, I'll be the first one to tell you, we used to look over there on the other side of the yard like, fuck, bro, 10 more rolled up. Because they'd bring chains from down south, Southern California. Fuck, 20 more. Fuck, another 15. We'd have two homeboys come, you know what I mean? One of them get whacked and the other one roll it up, or fucking 3 homeboys come solid. And it was just like that. And they'd have a lot of autos too that they'd have to clean up. Every group does, right? But our numbers compared to their numbers is what I'm talking about, the comparison. When a whole bus rolls up with 20 Southsiders and a fucking van rolls up with 2 Northerners, and one of them's already on freeze, you're like, fuck, hey, we can't get nothing around here. You know what I mean? It's just, it's part of the life, part of the struggle, man. That's why I always wholeheartedly believed in the underdog and the Norteño movement, because at the end of the day, man, I knew that what homeboys were there were solid as fuck. They were willing to go through the fire with you, homie. And not in front of you and not behind you, but beside you. And you got to respect it, man. Anyways, so is it a blame game? Are the Southsiders to blame for this? Nah. It's not a blame game, bro. It's this. They're probably already programming. That shit ain't going to last long. When the cops figured out, and I'm sure they figured it out within 24 hours, that's why they went on a 24-hour lockdown, then a modified lockdown. They still might be doing modified program right now. I highly doubt it. The shit happened a week ago, right? Other shit has happened now since then. I think they're going to be released to the yard and everything's going to be everything. And again, man, I think this was just a disrespect. Whether the guy headbutted the cop, if the guy headbutted the cop, man, and he was just a regular vato, he's going to have to answer for that, I'm sure, in the back, right? If he was someone of status, then, hey, I could see them all going, right? But like I said the other day, man, one thing I know about doing time with the gang of Southerners is that you could, as a police officer, or a cop, CO, you could fucking slam them on the ground, do your job, homes. But the moment they decide that enough is enough and to get off, then everyone gets off. That's just it. So it's not even a big situation, but it just shows you what people think about the Southsiders and the fear that's instilled. Fear equals respect. Numbers equal fear, and fear equals respect in prison. And I know people say, I don't give a fuck if there's 100 of them vatos. We got this. Okay, well, you've never been in a real riot then. You know, when you got 6 vatos with fucking fileros coming at you, there ain't nothing you can do. They're going to wrap your legs, drop you, and that's it. Anyways, with that being said, man, there's the situation there, and it is what it is. I hope that you move smooth with a purpose, get everything that you want coming, and remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive to struggle, the struggle to strive. And I'm going to continue to put out the best possible content I can here on YouTube. I appreciate all the support I've been getting. Thank you. It's truly a blessing. I'm very humbled by it. If you've noticed, my attitude has changed towards other channels, towards the internet, towards people in general, man. I like to have fun, still be me. I'm never going to change that. But I've learned to respect myself more so that way that energy pops off to people. I don't need no smoke. I don't want no smoke, man. I don't want no issues or problems. I want everyone to hear the words that are coming out of my mouth, enjoy, be entertained, and know that I do it with an abundance of respect. And that's all I can say about that. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears this Lakers crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I honestly and truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. The Woods, brother. The Blacks. The Browns. Doesn't matter. I like that sound. And it's all good. What's up to my Usos?